lichen, but that's not the one. And you can see that beautiful lichen growing on it. Now this seems to have a lot of lichen. Now if we come out a little bit, I think it's there. No, it's not. Okay, let's come out. Okay, now let me just have a look in lower there. So it even, look at that. Now that's lichen and a spider web. Isn't that incredible? So absolutely amazing. I thought it was old man's beard, but now with the super zoom in the camera, I can actually see it's not what I thought it was. It's actually spider webs. Aren't they just so delicate and so beautiful? Oh, heads up, Mr. Q. Wonderful, just take a moment, sit in silence and just look at the incredible beauty that is a male leopard. And we've been spoilt today with leopards, and lions for that matter. Stunning. Remember, screenshots, use the hashtag #SafariLive if you're going to share your screenshots on Twitter. Otherwise, pop them on our Facebook page, which is Safari Live. Now, while he sits majestically atop the termite area, let's do a little quiz. So I think I got a good one for you, and it's a leopard quiz since we're sitting with a leopard. And I would like to know, so we're not talking about sort of clouded leopards and snow leopards, but sort of this sort of clade of leopards, like the leopard we have here and in India. But which subspecies of the leopard is the most endangered, and where does it occur? If you know which of the leopard subspecies is the most endangered, or flat cat, and you know where they occur, please let me know. Use the hashtag #SafariLive on Twitter, or drop me an email, questions@WildEarth.tv. But while we go try and maneuver around to the other side of Mr. Q's head, let's go to Jamie, who's still with some ellies.
While Brent maneuvers around, we are still with our elephant herd, although unfortunately they do keep moving off. Again, it's a bit breezy this afternoon, which is making them somewhat nervous. As most of you know by now that elephants really aren't big fans of wind. So I've been trying to get a little bit closer, but I think this is going to be the best view that we've got for now. As the little one wanders off towards Mum. So Gracie, I promise I'm going to keep looking for a nice elephant sighting for you. I'm sorry you're not feeling great, sweetie, but I hope that these elephants make you feel a little bit better and bring a smile to your face. Unfortunately, they are making life a little bit tricky and they're moving off. But can you see that huge tree shaking? The big marula tree that is silhouetted. It was vibrating, and I could hear the rough scraping of the adult female's skin as she scratched an itch on the rough bark of the tree. And that's why the tree was shaking. It's not that she wants to pull it down. The marula trees are completely free of leaves at present. So it was more just because it was a very convenient rubbing post. And I think that means the end of our elephant sighting for now. But we're still going to try and see if we can't find more elephants. We've been incredibly lucky recently, of course, because Djuma and Arathusa and Cheetah Plains have just been full of ellies, and there are lots more to anticipate in future because they're going to start moving from the Kruger National Park in the east to the east of us. They're going to start moving in our direction to search for water as the dry season continues. So let's go and look for more elephants for any any elephants that we can find.
There's almost like a row of 3 very symmetrical rosettes, almost like a landing strip on his back. And a very, very distinct feature about Mr. Q. Ah, yes. I nearly forgot. Up here in Australia, I wanted to show you what a cheetah spot looks like. I just need to open up my photos. Now, where would I find a picture of a cheetah? I'm sure I've taken a few over the years. I'm just trying to think which album would be the best one. So I'm just going to find the picture for you. So I'm sure you'd much rather look at Mr. Q. Where? Oh dear. And you can hear the grey go-away bird in the distance. Oh dear, I think I can't find a picture of a cheetah. This is ridiculous. So I'll have to cheat and I'll have to go to my mammal app. It's not my picture and it's a little bit pixelated, but it'll do. Where do you want it, genre? It's good. So there we go. You can see a cheetah solid spots as opposed to those rosettes of a leopard. Oh, lots of dust on my screen there. Do you have a cloth for me, genre? Why, thank you. See, it is very dusty at the moment, so let's give it a bit of a clean. That should make it a little bit easier to see. There we go. That looks a bit better. Very pixelated, I'm afraid, but there we go. That's a cheetah, so solid spots as opposed to rosettes. Now, unfortunately, that was quite a cool colour. Unfortunately, when we tried to move around this way, we went black screen, but we want to show you a hole. Hopefully we don't lose signal. But it is quite an impressive hole. Well done to Natalia. Question spot on. It is indeed the Djuma leopard that occurs in Russia and China. Is the most endangered of the leopard subspecies. Now, unfortunately, instead of the back view, we do have a front view of the top of his head, and we're sitting at quite a precarious angle here. Just enjoying that last late afternoon light. Isn't that just stunning? Now, as the genre zooms out, you can see why leopards are so fond of termite mounds. Now, you can see how he just melts into the termite mound, and it gives him a nice high position to see any potential prey species, as well as the chance to possibly see any potential threats. Okay, I just need to be on the radio for a second. If there's a much better access if you go where Andries is going. So if you, from where you see the Morvers, just head a little bit south down the Shkova and you'll see where we crossed. We forgot to tell Mike about the other crossing, so he went through some real thick bush to get here. Look at that. So he's not moving. I think it is worth staying here, but if anyone would like to go have a quick look what else is happening on at Cheetah Plains, let me know if you want to stay or you would like to go. Let me know by using the hashtag SafariLive on Twitter, or sending us an email. Should we stay or should we go? I'm just going to move forward a bit while I duck through the bushes. Let's go to Jamie, who's hopefully got an animal that's not hiding in them.
No such luck, I'm afraid. We've got a very big animal that is hiding behind the bush, and I'm sorry, we're going to actually leave our buffalo bull for now, even though he has presented himself so beautifully, because the elephants are about to come out into the open, and we should be able to get a nice, clear view of them. So sorry, buffalo bull, as wonderful as you are, we're going to leave you for now and go and catch up with the ellies. I've just been watching them out of the corner of my eye. To pay so much more attention. I've got really used to driving our short vehicles, and one forgets how to drive a much longer piece of machinery, such as Maggie the Mahindra. She's just big boned, like our elephants actually, that we're about to go and see. We'll bump our way subtly, make a very slow and measured approach. It's better to have the engine on, because I think the squeaking of Maggie's suspension might cause them a little bit of distress if we didn't. Hello guys. Hi. Can we come say hello? You know, come across the road. It's our little herd from earlier. They were obviously on a mission to get here. Here we go. Hello little one. It's okay, big girl. Don't be scared. Don't be scared. It's okay. Oh, there we are. A much clearer elephant sighting for Gracie and for all of you out there that love our massive pachyderms. It sounds as though, just by the way, listening to the Game Drive channel, that the lions have moved a little bit. Herbert can't seem to find them. What we will do is, when we're done with these ellies, we're going to head back and see if we can't give them a hand. A small herd of elephants, one large female, and then most likely her daughter, or maybe a sister, and then her calves as well. Ah, there we go. They've managed to find the cubs. Okay, we don't have to rush off just yet. There's not much that is more peaceful than elephants having a quick snack. Now, I don't know that you could hear that, but that gentle rumbling is one of my favorite sounds in the whole wide world. That deep, bassy call that elephants use to talk to each other, to communicate with each other. It was a bit wasteful, girl. A mouthful of leaves that you just dropped out. Don't you know we're in a drought? See that movement? The way she's bobbing her head. And that's very typical of an upset elephant, but in this case it's not because she's upset, it was because she was walking downhill. Oh, here comes the little one. The little one's going to come across the road. Wait for me, Mommy. There's something big and scary. Hello. Hello. With your giant ears. Are you cute? Are you just too precious? Yes. Hey, little girl. Hi guys. You're keeping a close eye on us, don't worry. Another young female moving off to join the matriarch of her little herd. Such a beautiful sighting. Right, well we need to do some rebooting to get rid of the freeze framing that's happening on your screen. So while we do that, let's go back over to Brent on Cheetah Plains. Hello, little boy.
As you can see, Mr. Q has not moved a muscle, apart from the odd ear twitch, and he's very well hidden on top of his termitaria. But we're going to go start making our way towards the open areas of Cheetah Plains and see what we can find there. Who knows, we might have some cheetah luck. And there we go. Liz says, I'd love to stay, but what if there are cheetah on Cheetah Plains? So we're going to go find out. How we're going to find out is quite interesting. We've managed to get ourselves into quite the precarious spot. But that's, ooh, we're not full. There's quite a big hole behind us. Okay, there we go. Oopsie daisy. Now it's incredible what angles you can actually take these vehicles to. You can actually take them to about 45 degrees on the side. But while I terrify Jean-Ray, I don't want to terrify you. So let's go back to Jamie and the elephants.
While Brent terrifies Jean-Ray for some reason, we're making sure that we don't do the same thing to the elephants, although this little boy, who is the straggler of the group, he attempted to do that at one point to us, giving us his biggest, baddest I'm an elephant impression, ears out and head up. But he's now completely relaxed and enjoying a quick snack before the rest of the herd moves off into Buffelshoek, the property to the north of our Traverse area. In Port Elizabeth, you'd like to know about how elephant herds are formed, and which is a very good question because we always think of them as sort of forever being in existence, but that's not necessarily the case. Although they will, of course. I mean, elephant herds would have carried their genetic line for hundreds and hundreds of years, with elephants staying mostly, I mean, the females generally, almost always, staying in the same herd their entire life. What sometimes happens is if the elephant herd gets a little bit big, or maybe there are restrictions in terms of access to food or water, occasionally you get an elephant herd split. So one female will move off on her own, well, or at least she'll initiate the movement, and what will often happen is her oldest daughter, or a couple of her offspring, will come with her, because of course as tight as the bonds are between different herd members, the one between mom and calf is one of the strongest that exists out here in the African bush. So that's how what it usually is. A new herd is formed by a split from another herd that maybe got a bit too large. And perhaps there was just some confusion over where to go, and you've got two very dominant female personalities, so they split up in different directions. And then of course we've got the short-trunked elephant that we've seen before. I'm going to try and reverse just to make life a little bit easier, although I think our elephant sighting is nearly over. But our short-trunked elephant that we've got to know and love, I think that she formed her herd, or she split from the herd because of that injury, because of the snared trunk, because it maybe made her a little bit slower in terms of feeding. Perhaps she couldn't quite keep up. She needed longer to stop and feed. And that, I think, is why, that might be our best view, and that, I think, is why she actually ended up splitting away from the herd and then forming her own herd. And James told me something incredible, something I had never heard of before, and that was that he saw a bull elephant acting protectively over a little herd, with what he said was very clearly a young and quite inexperienced mother and her brand new calf that was all alone, and this male elephant was acting in an almost matriarchal way, or the way that a female elephant would, which I find absolutely astounding, and it just goes to show just how incredibly complex these animals truly are, and how wonderful, and also how little we actually know about what goes on in their day-to-day lives. Very special story, that. Now, Charlotte, on a different subject, whether or not elephant herds ever clash. No, elephants have this incredibly wonderful social structure, and their parts of their brains devoted to their social life and emotional development are exceptionally well developed. They're not territorial. They have home ranges. Sometimes there might be a little bit of conflict between individual members of the herd if they meet up at the waterhole or something similar. But there's a good chance that herds in this area are distantly related to each other as well. So when they meet up, it's usually a friendly greeting. You can actually see that the elephants know each other, they'll go up and they'll sniff each other's temporal glands. It's very special when two elephant herds meet after a separation. And I've seen them do it before where I was sitting looking over the Crocodile River in the south of Kruger, and I watched two elephant herds sprint towards each other from opposite directions, racing to go and say hello, and then greeting with lots of trunks. What they often do to elephants when they greet, they flop their trunks over the other elephant's head and then put the tip of it against that temporal gland that plays such an important role in communication. A really special moment, and you could very clearly see the excitement. And what often happens as well is you get the little teenage boys, the young elephant bulls that are part of the herd and very playful, and they seem to get especially excited because it's clear they have what we would think of as friends in other herds, and they go racing off towards each other whenever they encounter each other. Excuse me. Oof. I got overexcited there about elephant friendships. Oh, here we go. I think that's done. Try and clear that from my throat. Brian very kindly panning up to the sky to avoid focusing in on my now watering eyes. Okay, I'm under control. I have regained control over my lungs and my trachea and my larynx, and we seem to be good to go. I can't even remember. Oh, elephant friendships. Yes, you can see the little bulls racing to join their friends, and or at least what we would think of as friends. They're really special societies that elephants create for themselves. The only time they really come into conflict is when elephant males are involved, particularly when they're being a little bit too pushy. Well, since our ellies have almost completely disappeared into Buffelshoek, and I would very much like to have a good solid cough in order to dislodge the foreign object that has placed itself somewhere around the region of my larynx. So while I try and do that, let's go across to Brent for an update on cheetah plains.
So we're on the southern boundary heading east towards those vast open areas, and there's definitely a little nip in the air. Although Jean is so tough, he's even got his shirt sleeves still rolled up and his shorts on. Now our camera department is probably a bit tougher than us presenters when it comes to the cold. I mean, they got to sit up there in, especially Brian. Yes, no, Brian takes the presenter outlook on being cold, and it's not very nice. And so we believe in layering extensively. I'm going to add, yes, the genre says Cape Town makes him tough. I think it just made you strong smelling. But anyway, so there's always a good chance of seeing those cheetah boys around here. We have seen them a couple of times on this clearing just to the south of me. I'm just going to amble on slowly. It is that time of the day when crepuscular animals like cheetah like to hunt. This is the first sort of set of clearings, and the first time I actually ever saw cheetah was here. I'm going to check a little bit carefully. Now, when they're lying down, they're actually quite difficult to spot because they lie very, very flat, and they're quite skinny cats. But they often just pop their head up to have a look around, and sometimes when their head is up, it sort of resembles elephant dung in the distance. You ever see moving elephant dung on an open plain? It's quite often a cheetah's head. Oh dear, using things. There we go, all attached. It is just an absolutely gloriously beautiful winter's evening. I mean, just look at that light. We're in the shade at the moment, but we're going to pop up into that light now. Hi Aaron from the land of the long white cloud, New Zealand. And, oh, sorry Franklin, got a bit of a fright there. Didn't mean to. She's looking a little bit put out. There she goes. How dare you drive near me? Oh, crested Franklin. Sorry, Aaron. Sidetracked there. She scooted out from almost under our wheel. Very pretty little birds, the crested Franklins. Now, Aaron, I'll get back to your question in a second. She's digging in some very old elephant dung, and probably looking for termites that are in there eating the dung already. Oh, you don't want to be a termite when this crested Franklin's around. And the reason I say she, just give me a second, wait till we see her feet. Here we go. The males have a very pronounced fighting spur that sticks out of the back of their legs. That's how I know that this is not a he but a she. Other than that, in terms of colour and markings, they are identical. Yum, 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 yum. Lots of protein in those termites. You can see she's got there we go. You saw the spur there. But on the females it's quite small, so on the males it's very, very pronounced. But we're going to leave her to her dinner of termites and head towards the vast open plains of the cheetah. Now Aaron, speaking of cheetah, Aaron would like to know, where's the largest population of cheetah in South Africa? We're sitting in it, Aaron. The Greater Kruger National Park is the largest meta-population of cheetah in Africa, believe it or not. Everyone often thinks it's got to be the Serengeti or the Masai Mara, but it is not. It is the mixed woodland and open grasslands of the Greater Kruger National Park. Now, the Kruger is a very important meta-population for quite a few of our iconic species. In South Africa, it's also the largest population of wild dogs, and the largest population of lions, largest population of leopards, largest population of elephants, largest population about pretty much everything except springbok and eland, and gemsbok, of course, the desert dwellers. But most of your general game and big predators and big five, the Kruger is the sort of stronghold in South Africa for all those creatures. Okay, so we're about to appear into the open plains. Jean-Ray, what's going to be there? Jean-Ray is going with the obtuse and says honey badger. Kirsten in final control says ostrich. I say gnomless gnomen the gnu. Taking it safe. But I am hoping that there is a honey badger, an ostrich, and a gnomless gnomen, and possibly a cheetah. Louise says pangolin. Yes, Louise, that's pushing it a little. I mean, we've only seen it once so far, but you never know what could be on the open plains of the cheetah. Maybe we will see a pangolin, a cheetah, an aardvark, all in a cuddle bundle, but it's highly unlikely. Okay, engine off. I'm going to idle in stealth mode. I can't see anything. That's quite sad, not even gnomon. Wait, is that it? Log. Is it? No, it is a log. Just have a quick look at that dam wall there for me, Jean-Ray. I just saw some movement beyond it. Alas. Right there, right, go back, to the right, to the right, to the right. Under the tree. To the left of the tree. It's a log. It's a log. No, go back, zoom again. Ah, it's a tricky log. Sneaky log. Darn, I thought I'd made a miraculous cheetah spot from there. Ah, well anyway. Or maybe they'll be on our side. Let's go look on the next open section. But it is, the open plain is devoid of any mammalian life so far. Oh no, I see something alive. So, Aaron is hoping for a sable. Well, Aaron, me too, and James Richard a giraffe. We wouldn't mind a giraffe now. I think the only living creature I've spotted, we have to get a bit closer to it because it's quite small. There's a steenbok in the distance there. Alas, just a steenbokkie. Enormous must be visiting girlfriends on the other side of the clearing. Always gone for a drink, one of the two. So there is the only living creature I can spot on the vast open plains. And it is a little steenbokkie. Gorgeous little creature. And while we watch our dear steenbok depart, let's go see what Jamie's been up to.
All those guesses about what would be on Cheetah Plains clearing, and it turned out to be one steenbok relatively far away. And as Kirsty described, I think she said there was also one log. There are quite a few logs on the Cheetah Plains clearing. It's good to know that they are still there, present and accounted for. Now, in the meantime, the lion cub sighting is currently occupied by 2 vehicles who are waiting to see if the lions come out into the open. And so, since we're going to give them a chance to spend a little bit of time with those wonderful cubs, we are heading off in search of a different kind of baby animal. Sorry, I'm still suffering from my minor choking experience. We are heading across to the hyena den, just to see whether or not, before it gets dark, there's any sign of the hyena named Gwen and her little babies. And hopefully they are still in the vicinity. The one thing I will say is that I haven't seen tracks coming north along the road, and I do wonder whether the presence of the lions might not have prompted her to move those cubs elsewhere. But we don't know yet, so let us go and investigate, see if anybody's home. We've timed it perfectly, since the early evening is the best time, along with the early morning, to have a chance of seeing little hyena cubs. Nope, no tracks, and I don't think... No, this is ridiculous, sorry. I think if I'm getting ill, I blame Geraldine. And Geraldine Kent came back from her leave cycle carrying some version of the plague. So if I'm ill, Jerry... No, I don't think Jerry's watching, but if I'm ill, Jerry, you are to blame. All the evidence points in your direction. I don't think I'm ill, though. I think I'm absolutely fine. I just, to be completely honest, choked over my own saliva, and I'm now struggling to right myself. Oh, maneuvering Maggie. Oopsie daisy. Whoopsie. A bit too far, Maggie. And yes, Constantine, absolutely. Constantine is watching all the way in Germany, and while we growl our way towards the hyena den, if we could use electric cars ideally, then yes, I think that we absolutely would. If technology got to the point, if our finances perhaps as well got to the point where we could use electric cars or an alternative means of transportation, then yes, absolutely, I believe that we would. Much quieter, much less impact on the environment. Oh dear. It's not looking positive, everybody. It's looking very quiet. And I don't want to hit... I don't have any flexibility with the bushwalk backpack. So I don't know how far we're going to be able to squeeze before I knock it. Oh. Well done, Brian. Thank you. But it was all for nothing. Well, not for nothing, but pretty much for nothing, because there's nothing here. Which, as I said, I had a suspicion that might be the case. But it's not confirmed, because look at the marks running down underneath the entrance to the den. There's tracks in the soil there. I'm not sure how clearly you can see them from your perspective. But just have a look at those. Could be drag marks of some description, or it could be little cubs tumbling down the side of the den, which does happen. We've seen it before. They're not at their most highly coordinated at this very tender age of a couple of weeks old. Their back legs get a bit wobbly. They're not quite so good at walking. So that could actually be signs of a hyena cub tumbling down the side of the den. All is very quiet though. I just don't want to discount, there's another entrance on the southern side. So we're on the west, we're at the western entrance. They're all interconnected. There's some on the northern side. This is the main entrance hole. But there is a beautiful entrance hole on the other side. And I'm just wondering, I think it might be worth shuffling forward just a fraction to see if we can't see any sign of at least Gwen sitting there. Because we haven't really checked thoroughly that she isn't here. She's definitely not on this side. Okay, it's got a bit overgrown at the moment. You can't see it from this angle, but there is a hole just underneath the tree that is growing there, the boerbean that's growing there. Somewhere there's a hole, but I don't think that she's home. And I do wonder whether or not she has moved the cubs. There's lots of fresh tracks around. So there's still hope that she's around here somewhere, but might be worth checking up again tomorrow morning on the sunrise safari. First thing in the morning we'll come through and just double check that she hasn't in fact moved. Alright, well in that case we now need to make an attempt at shuffling out of here, and while we do, let's go across to Brent, who has got a lovely view for you.
So this is the lovely view. Now, Jeandre and I are arguing about where we should stop to look at the sunset.
That side is much prettier.
Jeandre thinks that side's prettier, but because I'm driving, we're going this side.
The sun doesn't set
No. Stop it now, Jeandre. So, I love a good sunset, but I'm trying to make this a dual function sunset. It also gives us a chance to look at an area we haven't looked at yet. So, and I'm going to get you such a nice marula tree in the sunset. What are you saying into the mic, Jeandre? I'm watching you. There we go. Look at that with a marula tree. Yes, Jeandre. Now Jeandre doesn't want to show you the sunset because it's not his sunset. There we go. There we go. See, mine's better. It's got a tree in it.
I didn't get to show them mine.
Well, you do. Yes, I know mine was better.
There's a branch in the way. There's a branch in the way. It's terrible.
Okay, well, sorry, there's a branch in the way. I'll move slightly so it's framed for you, Jeandre. Are you happy now, Jeandre?
Thank you.
So the main reason I wanted to look at the sunset here is so we could check this open area. We are going to start moving towards the Cheetah Plains Pan. I'm wondering if possibly Shavambalan has made his way that side. There were some tracks heading east, so that's quite possibly him.
That's
Yes. Now, there we go. So guys, terrible to have those beautiful and such elegantly designed branches in the shot. Very, very pretty.
You're wobbling your own sunset.
I'm wobbling my sunset. Sorry, I have ants in my pants. Now, it's always good to stop and listen at this time of the evening. Now, if any of you out there have ever been on a safari in Africa, it's at about this time of the evening where the G&Ts get rolled out and the little bar snacks come onto your bonnet and you have a sundowner out in the middle of the bush. But interestingly enough, the origin of the sundowner has nothing to do with having a beverage or having a snack. So when the safari industry was in its infancy, the lions and leopards were not quite what they are today. They were here, but they used to run quite often during the day at the sight or sound of a vehicle. At this time of the day, they would start to get moving. So the guides and trackers would stop, give their guests a drink and a snack. The tracker would normally then go sit off about 50 to 100 meters away from people and listen for alarm calls. And because at this time of the day is when those cats start moving. So that's actually where the original sort of sundowner beverage comes from. It's actually to find big cats. And there we go. Let's go and look for some big cats around the Cheetah Plains pad. And this is not a G, this is for Jean-Dre. There we go. My sunset was better than your sunset. Now, of course, I think we both would have in agreement if we could have a leopard in the sunset, it would be even better. Hi, Naomi, who's in Pretoria, South Africa. And Naomi is saying, what happens if you get lost in the bush for days? Well, you only get lost if you've got a sense of direction like Jean-Dre's. If you have a sense of direction like mine, you never get lost. But if you were to be stranded, what was that? I saw an impala through the bush there. Just to go forward a little bit. What was that?
The log.
No, it's an impala.
The log.
Impala. There we go, male impala. Hello, boyo.
The log.
So, yes. Chandra is being a comedian now. There you go, lovely little impala. Now I can only see one. I'm actually sure there's another couple around. Doesn't pay to be a lonely impala. Less eyes to spot potential predators. And also greater odds of being caught. They are such graceful antelope. Sorry, Naomi, sidetracked by the impala. Now, Naomi would like to know how would you know what to eat and where to find water and etc. Now, if you were watching during the Father's Day special, the one place to find water is from fresh elephant dung. You can actually squeeze water out of it, as Steph demonstrated. It was quite funny. It is dry, so it's not nearly dry, it is dry. And very smelly mud. Oof, very smelly. Well, let's keep going. Well, let's go back to 3 in a row pan. Maybe something's headed towards that fresh water there. Now, sorry Naomi, so I said termites are a great source of protein and they're all over the place. So your actual biggest danger when you are stranded out in the bush is not food at all. You can happily go 7 to 10 days without eating. You're going to be very uncomfortable and very, very weak, but you can do it. Now, the biggest problem is hello now this is very confusing. Is water. Water. I'm just trying to figure out, there's some leopard tracks here. A little bit. I see. I know these are the ones Ephraim was talking about. Hey, this is where Shivambalan came in from this morning. Yes, they've been driven over. That. Now, your biggest problem is finding water, and that little trick Steph did could actually save your life. I've had a broken down vehicle in northern Botswana before and had to walk about 60 kilometers and with no water, and we actually ended up drinking water that looked not far off that dry pan there, and it tasted mostly, I think I was actually probably drinking mostly elephant urine rather than water, but it kept us going. My dad's actually had to do that on more than one occasion. Now, the most important thing if you are ever stranded in the bush is do not wander around at night. As soon as it gets dark, find a tree, climb in it, and stay there. And that is the most dangerous time for human beings. We give up our dominant diurnal predator status, and we become very much part of the food chain. Lions will actively hunt people at night, and the other thing is you might stumble into a hippo, a buffalo, an elephant, and you can't see what's going on around you. So that's probably one of the more important rules, is don't wander around in the dark. And if someone says, oh, but it's full moon, yes, that's fine. The lions can see you better to eat. Now, walking around in the dark in the African bush is very, very dangerous. So one of the most important things a guide can own, and it's not a big gun, it's not a nice pair of binoculars, it's not a camera. Possibly one of the most important things a guide should own when you live in the bush permanently is a good torch. That is a very important thing. So even when we walk home at night and in very close proximity from where we park the cars, always torch out, check for buffalo, check for lions, make sure that you are safe and your cameraman is safe. Okay, so we're going to continue checking towards 3 in a row pad. Maybe Shivambalan's still hanging about there. While we do that, let's go see what Jamie's been up to.
And never underestimate the value of a good torch or flashlight. We are currently using a headlamp strapped onto the bar in order to provide us with a little bit of extra light as it starts to get dark. Some bush mechanics going into making Maggie the makeshift broadcast vehicle. I've picked something up to show you because it's something that actually Jerry pointed out to me, and I realized that perhaps we don't talk about this particular plant all that often because we don't see it all that often. It's known as a sandpaper raisin, or a square-stemmed raisin leaf. It's very, you can't obviously, until technology advances to the point where we have almost like a scratch and sniff type game drive, you won't be able to get an idea of the texture, but suffice to say, it is very, very rough, hence the name sandpaper raisin, if that needed any further exposition, with its jagged outlines. We've had spoken before, just in terms of survival, about eating raisin bushes, or the raisins of the raisin bushes. They're not actually raisins, it's the fruit. They're pretty tasteless, but they'll provide you with a little bit of nutrients. But what's unique about this tree is the shape of its stem, hence the name square-stemmed raisin bush. Just if that needed any further exposition, it's got a very square shape to it. Very, very square. Now, it's actually used as a form of corporal punishment. Instead of the smacks that perhaps some of us were dealt as children, this is used in a slightly different way. So what happens is, to punish offenders, it is... oh, goodness. Hold on a moment. I've had experience with this before where I've snapped things and they've broken off into my face. But what basically happens is the offender places their hands together like this, so palm to palm, and the sticks of the raisin bush are placed in between the fingers like that, and then squeezed together. Now, because of the square-stemmed nature, look, it would hurt whatever tree you use, but because of the ridges on the square-stemmed or sandpaper raisin. It's actually what makes it the most uncomfortable. So it is incredibly painful, and I've tried it properly before. I'm not doing it properly now, obviously. But if somebody else then grabs around the hands and squeezes together, and it digs into the knuckles. So basically a form of corporal punishment. As I was snapping it there, just talking about survival and the various aspects that it's used for, a raisin bush stem is quite springy, and it's actually used to create by local people to find food. They actually create traps with it in a piece of string that then fling forward and catch things like spring hares in the desert areas, so in the Kalahari. Spring hare is not something we get here. They're awesome little creatures. They're like if you crossed a kangaroo with a mouse, you'd get a spring hare. Tiny little things, about that tall, with long, very powerful bouncing legs, and they bounce like little kangaroos. I wish we could show you a spring hare out here, but if we do, it would definitely be very lost. Now, luckily, while we continue onwards, it seems as though Brent's trip towards 3 in a row pan has been relatively successful, and whilst he hasn't found Shumbambalana, he has found something much larger.
Here we go, Gracie. Gracie, who's 8 years old, was asking for Ellies. And here's some more Ellies for you, Gracie. Hope you're feeling better. Oh, look at that little boy. Argy bargy. So a little breeding herd, not a very big one. Some naughty boys. Young hooligans. At the back, 2 young boys. They're not very, very relaxed, and I think it's because of the young boys pushing the youngsters around. So we were just talking about survival, and elephant dung that can be squeezed for water is one of those. And Lynn would like to know, what does it taste like? I said, Lynn, you should ask Steph.
Told me oily Jägermeister.
There you go, oily Jägermeister. That sounds disgusting. Oily Jägermeister. So, not a very pleasant thing, but it might keep you alive. See, this female is just trying to keep moving away from that young male, keeps pushing her around. And that's why that young female there, those 2 young females are quite agitated. So there we go. That's the little breeding herd, the 2 females, two young ones. And there's this teenage bull, maybe a little bit closer to 20, who's been pushing them around. Oh, thirsty Ellies. Here we go, you can see he's just harassing them a little bit. You can see by their reactions, just trying to keep away from him. He's not really that interested in drinking, he's more interested in harassing and playing, but the others are not so keen on it. Oh, isn't that amazing? We can hear them. The female is just to the right of us now, and she's just at that wonderful low rumble. So they've moved to the other pan to try to get away from the boy. Oh, look at that with the reflection. Stunning. And see, that little one's still nervous from being harassed by that young bull. Now, He's decided we're more interesting. What are you up to, mister? He's trying to be brave behind a bush and shake his head at us. There we go. Silly boy. And he's severely harassing those poor other ellies. They're now running off. What are you doing? What are you doing, you Nana? He just looks like he wants to have a good playful time, but no one wants to play with him. Now he's finally having a drink. You can see, still not relaxed. That young female. A very peaceful scene here, apart from the unrelaxed little ellies. He looks. Nice, Andre. A pretty reflection. Oh, he's doing the funny nonsense again. Maybe he's got an itchy knee. and I cannot explain why. There's no sort of logical reasoning why he would do that. Well, off they head. We're going to let them continue on their merry way. We're going to start making our way back towards Djuma. They're doing it again. Nobody's going to hang on. Look at this. This is absolutely ridiculous. What are you doing, you silly creature? He just wants someone to play with. No one wants to play with him. Shame. Poor boy. Very peaceful scene. Finally being able to have a drink in peace. Looks like she's finished drinking. And it's going to move off for a nicer feeding. And these massive animals have to keep feeding throughout the day and night to sustain that huge frame. Hi Amy, who's in California. Amy's wondering, I think elephant body language is similar to a horse's body language. No, not really. I mean, all animals to a degree have certain body language that lets you know that they're upset. But elephant and a horse, I would say, is quite different. A zebra on the horse, and it's almost identical. But an elephant and a horse, not so much. One last sip. Mom's already gone. And going to follow Mom into the woodland. Bye guys! So we're going to start moving back towards Djuma now. Because it is getting quite nippy and we've had such a spectacular time down here on Cheetah Plains. While we make our way back to Djuma and see what else is happening on the wrong road home, let's go back across to Jamie so she can update you on her plans.
Oh, while Brent continues on his long journey back to home, we've actually done a very long circuit of pretty much the whole of Djuma, and we've now hit the southwestern corner, which is very, very close to where Karula crossed out. And I've come through here just in the hope that perhaps we might encounter her on her way back. Now, it is getting very dark, as you may have noticed, which means that the spotlight will be coming out in a couple of minutes. If we do encounter Karula, and if she does have her cubs with her, then obviously we will leave straight away if it's too dark for us to view her. But for now, we've got a couple of minutes of light, so we can just check around the area and see if she's not on her way back north. That's the plan for now. The lion sighting at this point has shut down. It's been closed off again, so that the cubs are not spotlighted while they are as young and as vulnerable as they are. Even with Mom there, nobody wants to risk spotlighting them and potentially attracting the attention of any animals, like especially hyenas, but any other of the predators. And we certainly don't want to add an extra level of distraction to their lives. In terms of the predator hierarchy, the lion comes right up at the top, so she is strong enough to defend her babies, but not against a group of hyena, which fall very close below the lion in terms of their predator status. And Wesley, on that subject, we've often spoken about the somewhat unfair reputation that spotted hyenas have earned, and you wanted to know why it is they're known more as scavengers than as predators. It's a very good point. It is a misnomer in a way. They are very much predators in their own right, and in certain areas, Wesley, they hunt about 80% of what they feed on. It depends very much on the lion concentration, the lion dynamics, the lion distribution of an area, and the prey distribution of an area. That will determine how often the hyena clans of a particular place will hunt. In our case, I would say that our hyena clan they're mostly scavengers. They do spend a lot of time moving around and about and feeding off carcasses that have been left behind. Or, occasionally even, as we saw a couple of weeks ago, chasing the lions off the kills themselves. They often steal from our leopards. Many, many times we've told the story. We've shut down for the end of the sunset safari with a leopard with a kill, and we've questioned whether or not the leopard will keep it, and we come back the next day and there's hyena tracks everywhere and a great big drag mark and one slightly annoyed leopard that's moved off. Now, our hyenas do a lot of scavenging. That's because they can. There's a high predator concentration, there's a high lion concentration, and so they scavenge a lot. But in places like Botswana and Namibia, other areas, even in Eastern Africa, Tanzania and Kenya, the hyenas of those sorts of places do a great deal of hunting, and they're actually probably, in terms of their success rate of kills that they initiate, or hunts that they initiate that result in kills, they're actually more effective. They are better at it than lions and leopards, if you could term it like that. And that's because they, like the wild dog, rely on their extreme stamina, their speed, and not so much speed or short ambush bursts of strength. It's a constant wearing down of the animals that they're hunting. I did a sleep out where about 300 yards away from us once, we were sleeping out under the stars. The hyenas actually brought down and killed a zebra not far away from us. Where I was working, as a contrast, the hyenas there did a huge amount of hunting for themselves. It just depends on the area and the circumstances. But hyenas do have that reputation as just nasty thieves that always steal the food from other predators and don't do any of the work themselves, which isn't fair. But they've evolved to be scavengers as well as predators. And a lot of the scavenging is really important, because what it means is that they are essentially the dustbin men of the bush. The rubbish collectors, and they make sure that none of the carcasses are left behind to spread disease and bacteria. They fulfill a very, very important role. I just wish that they would come back onto Djuma and have their den site with all of the cubs back in one place once again. And we're missing out on watching the cubs that we started off our year observing. We're missing out on seeing them grow up, and that's because I think they've moved their den site to Simbambili. But never fear, they will be back once again. Djuma forms the heart of our clan's territory, so they will be around. Time to break out the spotlight and see whether or not there's any sign of the lovely Karula coming back to the north. We've just gone past the point where she crossed. All seems very silent to me. That being said, everything seems silent over the sound of Maggie's growling. And hello to Musical in Colorado, and welcome to the Sunset Safari. I'm thrilled to hear that you are delving a little bit further into our leopards of the Sabi Sand, and particularly the leopards that we here at Wild Earth are so privileged to see. You've been looking at a family tree of Karula, and you were wondering, because you know that there are other males, obviously Tingana and Mvula, that are breeding in this area that are not connected to Karula's family line. But you do want to know, excuse me, if there are any females that are not part of Karula's family line but are breeding around here. The truth is, almost invariably with female leopards, because they don't disperse all that far away from their mothers, or they often don't disperse all that far away from their mothers in comparison to male offspring, genetically you'll find that a lot of the females here are related in some way, particularly given the level of, if I could describe it as such, promiscuity of the female and the male leopards. So you could well find that a lot of the individuals share the same father as Karula, for example. We just won't ever know. That being said, there was a female leopard called Kwatile, beautiful female leopard of what was known as the Vombo leopard line. She very sadly died. We don't know exactly what it was. It was a suspected snake bite, but we'll probably never know. But she has an adult daughter called Tsakani. Now, Tsakani has been seen on Djuma once or twice. I've seen her, Brent's seen her. She occasionally wanders through into the top northwestern corner of that area. Her main territory seems to be around Simbambili, but at the moment she's trying to establish herself. There's also Saleyeshe, that is right to the west. She's right to the rest of our territory. Saleyeshe is also, again, much bigger and taller than the Karula female line. Very, very bulky leopard. And her daughter Tiani has just been given her name, which means strength. Tiani will also be relatively soon establishing herself a territory, so it remains to be seen whether or not she decides to come through this area. And then naturally, the leopardess that has managed to avoid me so far, Inkanyeni. Inkanyeni bears distant relation. Her territory is around Torchwood, Buffelshoek, Cheetah Plains area. It looks as though she has potentially lost one of her cubs, but that remains, it seems like it is likely. She's been seen with only one cub a couple of times, so she's around as well. And then Shaluva the leopard in the north around Manyaleti. So those are the female line that are not directly related to Karula, but as I said, you may find that there is a connection. If you go far enough back, you might find they share the same father, the same grandfather, the same grandmother. There are connections. In the same way, if you were to go back far enough, you might even find that the Styx and the Nkuhumas were part of the same pride at some point, and then maybe the Nkuhumas came from a split from the Styx, just like we talked about before. Unconfirmed, but it is a possibility. There might be a genetic connection. I'm trying to think if I've missed out any. If I have, then you are more than welcome to let me know. I'm sort of thinking off the top of my head, but those are the ones that we could see in this area. I'm sure I've forgotten one. Just can't think. Shaluva, Kotile is now dead. Tsakani, Salaheshe, Tiani, Inkanyeni. I think that's it. That are not directly related to Karula. But of course our three main females that we see regularly, Karula, Shadow and Tundi. Inkanyeni's managed to give me the slip every time I go searching for her. And on that very subject, James Richard, no news on our expectant mother, Tundi, when we last saw her around the Djuma Dam on Cheetah Plains, just to keep you guessing and confused. When we saw her on Cheetah Plains, she was looking exceptionally pregnant and very clearly close to full term and about to have cubs, and she was inspecting den sites that she has used on regular occasions. Now, no news so far, but no news is good news. We'll just have to wait and see. And of course, if she does have cubs in that drainage line system, we probably won't know about it until they're about 2 months old and accompanying her. Now, we'll have to wait until we see her once again before we get any kind of confirmation. But my guess would be that she is going to have those cubs. She was demonstrating that same behavior that Karula did just before she had her current set of cubs. That frequent urination, that restless, uncomfortable look. And those guides that have worked at Cheetah Plains and know Tundi well seem to think that she was going to den somewhere there soon. How's the view of the moon there, Bebop? Too high. Too high, oh no! I don't know the range of this situation. Sorry, everybody. Okay. There's a moon, everybody. It's looking slightly larger than it did yesterday, since it is a waxing moon. Unfortunately, I've made life a bit tricky for Brian. He can't actually really show it to you. Nope. Okay, well, we'll continue onwards. It's a beautiful evening, though. It's gone dead still. It's actually so quiet. I don't know if that's just in contrast now that the engine's off. Right. Well, we're going to continue on looking for the wonderful, mysterious creatures of the evening. In the meantime, Brent has one that will be out and about and wandering around throughout the night.
Look at that. A hippo coming out of the dam on its way to go feed for the evening. You've got to be very careful with hippos at this time of the year because of the drought. We're not going to move too much. I'm just going to let that hippo wander off. It's going to go behind us now. I'm sorry, John, I can't see where I'm shining the light. So I'm doing a good job. Shining with my monitor. Looks like a big female. Off she goes. Wasn't that cool? Not something we get to see too often out of the water. Now, Lily in New Mexico is... Oh, sorry. I'm just going to turn the car quickly. Sorry, Lily. I forgot.
Sorry about this, everybody. Perhaps something has pushed over the Gauri repeater, just like the elephants have pushed over this marula tree. Our technical team is rushing around madly trying to...
Sorry about that. It's a bit of a bad signal spot down in the little drainage there. So Lily was wondering, how big is the hippo's teeth? Now, they're massive, Lily. Sometimes as half as long as my arm thick, and they're sharp, and they sharpen up against each other. Now, those teeth are not for eating, they're for fighting. So defending themselves against lions and hyenas, and also fighting amongst themselves. So very impressive set of teeth to defend themselves. So Jamie and Brian are done for the evening. The battery pack has expired. So, well, you know, stuck with Genre and Al for the rest of the sunset safari. And hopefully we can find you some interesting animals. I'm thinking bush baby. What are you thinking, Genre? Genre? Huh? Unicorn. Chandra wants to find a unicorn. Well, it seems like we have a new viewer. A big welcome to Jess in Durban. Sunny Durban. Kirsten is actually from Durban, our director. And Jess says, well, it doesn't look like there's much grass around at the moment. What do the grazers eat? Now, you wouldn't believe it, but if you look carefully, there isn't much, but there is some grass about. So they'll literally be picking off any little bit of grass that they can find. And as well as a lot of the grazers will actually browse a bit this time here. Sorry, let me just fix this quickly. Okay, pointing the very, there we go, that's much better now, I can see. Okay, and this one, let's go, there, I put it there. There you go. So they will start browsing. So buffalo will eat things like round leaf teak and terminalia. One of the animals that suffers the most, and generally the first animal to really die during a drought, is warthog. Warthog take it quite heavily, and they're often the first to die. After the warthog, you start normally to see animals like kudu and inyala and bushbuck start getting very well hit. The impala sort of stays in the best condition the longest because they are able to feed off both grass and leaves. But also just remember that with this drought, only the strongest genetics are going to be left. So the animals that survive the drought are going to be in tip-top shape, genetically speaking. Obviously, after having no food for 7 months, they're not going to be in the best of shape, but those who survive will be genetically superior to those who have died. It's always the young and the old that go first, and we'll notice that there's very, very few baby buffalo calves when we see the big herds. Buffalo is another animal that the drought hits quite heavily. Wildebeest sometimes as well. Well, the wildies were looking okay the last time I saw them. What was that? No, he was a bush baby that bounded off. It's not a bush baby. It's a duiker. Duiker are always so tricky. They always look like a cat. You can just see the eye flashing through there. A little duiker. So they quite often look like a cat. They're quite skulking in the way they move. So you always, oh, stop, and then, oh no, oh dear, it's snot. Aaron in New Zealand says he'd love to see a caracal. Aaron, me too. I really would, and that would make another tick on my list of little carnivores. Got the African wildcat, got serval. Caracal is definitely missing. I think it's the only cat in the Sabi Sands that I haven't had on a live drive. We've had lion, we've had leopard, we've had cheetah, we've had serval, we've had African wildcat. So yes, caracal is the only missing cat, and this drought conditions are the best chance to see them. There's very, very little grass to hide in. Okay. However, back safely on Djuma at the moment. So I'm going to change radio channels and go back to the Northern Game Drive channel. Karula, next one. What do you think? Karula, next one. We might have a gander at Karula on the way home. Just want to find out something quickly on the radio. Sinead, just confirm where that Tingana sighting is. Copy, thanks very much, Sinead. Good news for the morning. Tingana, people were wondering where Tingana was. He's moving west towards Djuma at the moment. So he's heading past Cheetah Lodge at the moment, but heading for Djuma. So we'll definitely have to look for his tracks on the sunrise safari tomorrow. Oh, I forgot to go off the eastern channel. Stations back from the east. Are there any updates for the north? Let's see what I've been missing. Oh, there's lions roaring in Buffelshoek. That doesn't help us too much. Sounds like maybe one of the Birminghams is around near Buffelshoek Dam, but roaring to the north. Hi, Cecilia. Cecilia says she knows lions will hunt buffalo. Do they ever hunt rhino? Cecilia, they do, but very occasionally. A rhino is a lot bigger and a lot tougher than a buffalo. A thick hide is very difficult to get through. But I have actually seen a lioness jump onto a baby rhino and then get chased by the mom. But I know of one pride in the Kruger that used to kill sub-adult rhinos relatively regularly, but it is not a common thing. Okay. I really want to see an African striped weasel. Now that is one of the rarest little critters out here, and I've actually seen one on the Djuma. Jamie as well. We were coming home from a friend's house at Simbambili, and we saw this tiny little weasel on the road. And it is I haven't seen many of them in my life, but nice to have seen one here on Djuma. So there's always the chance we might see one. But I thought we'd check sort of one of Karula's favourite haunts, this area, while we're on our way back. So far, not much. No bush babies, no jennets, no civets, no caracals, no owls. I actually wouldn't mind seeing some owls. I really do love owls. One of my favorite owls, which you don't see too often in the Sabi Sands, is the the white-faced scops owl. Very pretty little bird. Hear them calling, but you don't see them that often. Well, it has been a cat-filled Friday. I wonder if Saturday Cataday is going to come into play tomorrow. We shall have to see. False alarm. Not even a Nat.Geo. It is quite chilly, which is good because it means a lot of little critters will get moving a little bit earlier. Now, this little section through here is a good little critter zone. I've seen lots of different things here. Bush babies, genets, owl. Actually, I've seen owls here as well on this little stretch. Checking carefully in the trees, on the ground, in the thickets. Watch the branches. Hi Valeria. Valeria would like to know, are we going to do a Facebook wrap-up tonight? I don't know, Valeria, are we? I think we are. I think we shall be doing a Facebook wrap-up this evening. Ooh, what have we got? Oh, there he is. Yay! Don't jump, don't jump. There he is, Bush baby. Hello, little monster. How incredibly cute little creatures. Those massive eyes. Oh, boom, boom. Massive ears. Jump. Now, if we're lucky enough to watch him cross the road, a bush baby without a tree is possibly one of the funniest things in the world. To watch them run along the ground. Oh, he's chewing gum. So that's one of his gum spots. So he'll chew that acacia. And he'll chew it probably a couple of times a week to make sure it keeps producing gum. Let's try and sneak a little closer. It's just disappeared. Got him, John? Look at that. Isn't he just gorgeous? You can see those massive eyes develop for nocturnal vision. Massive ears. So they are true omnivores, and it's the smallest primate we get here at Djuma. This is called the South African bush baby or South African galago. This one looks like it's just woken up. Shame, looks a bit shell-shocked. But they only would have He probably only would have come out of the nest in the last 10 or 15 minutes. So literally, they have just woken up. Like, isn't it amazing if you look around that bush baby, look at the thorns, and that bush baby is able to maneuver without injuring itself through that morass of acacia thorns. Aren't you clever? They have very high metabolisms. You can see that by the heavy breathing, or quick breathing rather than heavy breathing. Now, they eat all sorts, as I said, moths, insects, grubs, but also fruits, acacia gum or gum from trees. Oh, looks like it's time to move. Are we going to jump? Are we going to jump? This is so cute. Now, I've had a few pet bush babies over the years. They're quite interesting because they leap onto your head in the middle of the night and it gives you a hell of a fright. And also they have quite an irritating, well not irritating, well it's an important natural function, but they urinate on their hands and feet. and it adds a bit of stickiness, but it also enables them to scent mark their territory. So they live in little family groups, and they have set territories, and they'll patrol those territories quite regularly. But isn't that wonderful? Isn't that a wonderful way to end the sunset safari that's had lion cubs and leopard, some ellies, and now a cute little bush baby at the end. So from Jean and myself, toodles, and we'll see you tomorrow for another exciting day in the wild.